it's going to be split up between early stage, growth stage, and later stage. So, early stage folks, given the risk profile, they want to invest and make 7 to 10 times their money in 5 years. If you're in the growth stage, those kind of investors, they want to make 5 to 7 times their money in 5 years. Later stage deals, they want to make 3 to 5 times their money. So those are kind of rough approximations, but that gives you a sense of the kind of return you got to provide to satisfy that kind of investor. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
This is going back a little bit, but how is early stage versus growth stage defined? Like, are there set benchmarks, or is it, you have, a solid management team, you have this, you have this, or how are they?
It's typically more in terms of financial baseball. So if you look at that curve, that's really defining it. So if I'm in the curve of a young company and I'm still negative cash flows, right? That's really early stage, right? That's what I'm looking at. If I'm in a period of time where I'm still a young company, but I'm experiencing some pretty strong growth, that's a growth stage investment. So it's really in terms of kind of financial metrics. So if you look at that curve, kind of where you are, from either cash flow or profit standpoint, that's.
So you could be a well-established company, it would still very much be in early stage.
Right. You could be a well-established company and negative, right? So the question becomes, if I'm negative, what's my prospects from going up? Is it? Let's say I'm an older company, been around 20 years, right?
50 years.
50 years, right? If you're talking to an equity investor, you have the idea that we can actually take off and do something. The question is that curve like this, or that curve more like that? Right? So if you're an established company, and okay, you know what, you've been growing about 3 or 4% a year for the last 10 years, you're probably going to do that. If I get some, maybe I get to 15 or 20. Then I would say 4, 5, 6 times the money return is probably more likely. But if you now are being able to go into a different market or have this fabulous new product, it has the aspect, potential of doing this and growing, 40, 50% a year, then, but that risk of actually doing that is higher, the risk is higher, then the return requirements are not going to be 3 to 5, it's going to be more like 5, 6, 7, 8.
So that's something that you would have to negotiate or iron out with your equity,
Right.
How they're defining versus how you're defining.
Right. The issue is, what is their objective? Because what's going to happen is the investor, they have some pretty set return objectives, that firm. So if you're dealing with a growth stage firm, a firm that invests in this arena, that's kind of what they want. They're not going to negotiate that much. Now, we're going to talk about it. There's just negotiation on the valuation, because to achieve that, they have to take a certain percentage of the company. And they take a certain percentage based on what they predict or project the company's growth is going to be. The higher the growth, the less they need. The lower the growth, the more they need. The question is, what is the growth going to be?